Prigozhin admits truth and lies about the war in Ukraine. This is what we're going to talk about today. So I'll show you the videos of Prigozhin himself talking about the war in Ukraine and admitting the truth. Also, in the same video, he lied as well, and I'm explaining you when he told the truth and when he lied. Hello there, I'm Elena. Welcome to my political channel Enough of Propaganda. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel, because here you will find the facts and proofs about what really happened in Ukraine, how that was started since 2014 until this day, about recent coup in Russia, attempted coup, I would say, and let's see what Prigozhin himself has to say. I'm trying to preserve it for the future, because also it is a continuing of my previous video. I'll show you. Here's the Telegram channel. It's called Interview Prigozhin, Prigozhin's interview. There is a big interview in here. It is in Russian, in 30 minutes, 33 seconds. I won't show you all of it, and I will show it to you in a different place so you could see English subtitles. And I will explain you what he's talking about. On this channel, made by Dmitry, it's called War Translated. There are videos with English subtitles. I'll show you just the most important parts of this interview. The beginning of this interview I'll show you from the Telegram channel, and I'll translate it to you. In this part, he's lying. And lying deliberately. Why? Because he was there at the time. He was in Ukraine in 2014, when Russia illegally annexed Crimea. When Russian troops invaded Crimea, you can have the whole playlist on my channel where you can find out how exactly it happened. It was Russian army and Russian citizens who invaded Ukraine, and so on. Part of it was Wagner PMC, which was created back then in 2014. It was created by basically Russian government, by GRU, and Utkin, the second person basically who created Wagner PMC originally, he was from GRU. This group was created to, let's say, eliminate people who the government doesn't want to be alive. Russian government. Putin doesn't want to be alive, or Russian government. Because the people who came to Donbass from Russia, Russian citizens, they were bandits, they were criminals, they were fraud, people who committed fraud. They hardly could be controlled. It was very hard to control them. Eventually, they had to get rid of them. That's how was killed Motorola, Givi, and all those so-called commanders of those so-called Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic. So Prigozhin and his group, they were there. They know how it happened. That is why I'm saying he's lying. That's what he has to say.
Итак, с чего началась так называемая спецоперация? В 2014 году произошел военный переворот, мятеж на Украине.
How the war in Ukraine started. In 2014 happened the coup, as he's saying. As I proved several times, there was no coup. You're welcome to watch my playlist about the war in Ukraine 2014, and you will find out what actually happened. Legal President Yanukovych was still in power when Russian troops and descent were already in Ukraine, and Girkin Strelkov was already there. While Yanukovych, legally elected president of Ukraine, was still in Kiev being a president. So there is no question about the coup. So he is lying right then.
Русских стали притеснять, русские ушли на Донбасс.
Oh, Russians were mistreated. Russians wasn't mistreated. Again, I proved it in my video. I'll show you in which one. In the end of this video. It called who and when started the war in Ukraine. You could see how Russians were mistreated. And he said Russians left to Donbass. That is not true either. None of this is true.
Донбасс мы отстояли после того, как
And we defended Donbass. All of this part is completely made up.
поскольку армия не была уверена, что она может с этим справиться.
He's saying that we were supposed to leave, but we kind of was trying to defend the borders, but Russian army wasn't sure that they can handle that task, so they had to leave. So he admitting that there was Russian army there, which this part is true. That's what he has to say about the beginning of everything. I'll definitely make a special video about Donbass. So far, I just finished making videos about Crimea. So this part, the truth in this part is that Russian army was there. A Russian army, and you can see it in my videos with all the proofs, started the war in Ukraine in 2014 without any reasons from Ukraine. No problems from Ukraine whatsoever. This part of the video you can watch for yourself. Prigozhin here is saying that he is thinking there was two reasons to attack Ukraine in 2022. It was personal ambitions of Minister of Defense of Russia, Shoigu, and the desire of Russia's ruling clan, who were not satisfied with Donbass, to appoint Medvedchuk as the president of Ukraine. He divided assets between each other for plundering. According to Prigozhin, denazification and demilitarization make no sense, since Battalion Azov wouldn't be exchanged for Medvedchuk otherwise. And I'll show you a little bit of this and explain a couple things.
Для чего была нужна война? Война нужна была для того, чтобы кучка тварей просто поторжествовала и попиарилась, показав, какая она сильная армия. Чтобы Шойгу получил маршала, и этот указ уже был готов, и получил вторую звезду героя, потому что ему очень хотелось войти в историю как великий тувинский военачальник, который стал дважды героем и маршалом в фактически мирное время.
Basically, to rob more of Ukraine and so on, he just trying to avoid saying that it was Putin's fault. And instead of Shoigu, he should say Putin. Putin really wanted it because he wanted to be emperor and because he thought, falsely, that Ukraine will welcome him and he will be quickly get into Kiev, and like last time when he took Crimea, it boosted his rating in front of election. Not like he really need an election, but he kind of likes to be elected, kinda. But it's not real election since there is no opposition who he either murdered or put in jail. And it's all falsified anyways, even without opposition. Putin didn't win election. So if you put instead of Shoigu Putin, then you will get better picture.
После 2014 года, с 2014 по 2022 год, Донбасс весь распиливался.
I'll probably read to you because probably no point for you to listen to him talking in Russian. He is saying, and again, from now on, I will show you different pieces of the video, not necessarily in order. From 2014 to 2022, the Donbass was plundered. It was plundered by various people, some from the president's administration, part from FSB, part by oligarchs such as Kurchenko. These people were stealing money from people in Donbass, located in the unrecognized republics, those illegal republics, LPR and DPR. And in this LPR and DPR, there were the army corps, which in case of attack by Ukrainians, were meant to give a response. However, these army corps didn't exist. In reality, there was a minimal number of soldiers and a certain number of generals. They were simply stealing the money. They were saying there were soldiers, but there wasn't. And with a salary of 40,000, 20,000 rubles, I presume, would state that till 20,000 would be given to the soldiers who signed the contract. There was no training, while the generals were simply getting money for those dead souls, and the budgets were stolen. So they pretended they signing up soldiers and pocketing the money. They were lying about the amount of soldiers, and then sometimes soldiers dies and they pretend they're still alive and so on. So there was lots of stealing going on. Donbass was a perfect place to steal money by both the president's administration employees, first Surkov, then Kozak. FSB also had a full hierarchy of generals. And so, besides the stealing was going on in Donbass, about how things happened after Crimea, after Russia illegally annexed Crimea, all the same troops went to Donbass basically, and some bandits who just came with the gangs of Russian citizens who basically grabbed the territories and trying to pretend that they wanted those separate republics. And now he's saying very important things. Now, on why the special operation started, basically the war in Ukraine started. Ukrainians had a group that was placed along the border with Donbass. The one we were breaking from Popasная to Artyomivsk. Artyomivsk is Bakhmut. Basically, Russia started the war in Ukraine. The war was going on. And Russia, and of course Ukraine, had the Ukrainian army there. Prigozhin saying that the group consists of various of volunteers, nationalist units, as well as the regular army. He is wrong about that. It was a regular army of Ukraine defending their country. This group exchanged fire. We fired at them, they fired at us. And this was happening for all these long 8 years. And I can add to this that not necessarily Ukrainians were shooting at them. I have proofs that Russians were shooting in both ways, towards Ukrainians and towards those republics, and pretend Ukrainians did it. I have a video in my playlist about how a leader of separatists shooting grenade launcher at his own people. It's in the playlist called Important to Know About the War in Ukraine. You're welcome to see it. So, all these 8 years, basically, there was a war. Russia was supporting separatists, sending them weapons. Russian troops were there on and off, and so on. So they're trying to create open wound in Ukraine. Sometimes the number of firefights would increase. Sometimes it would reduce. And this is very important. As of 24th of February, he meant February 2022, there was nothing extraordinary. So nothing was happening at all. Right now, the Minister of Defense is trying to deceive the society and the president. Well, president knows it. It's Prigozhin trying to hide it from president. And tell a story that there was insane aggression from the Ukrainian side and that they were going to attack us together with the whole NATO bloc. So they're basically lying. This so-called special military operation was started on February 24th for completely different reasons. So this wasn't the reason he's saying. This is not true. You're welcome to see the whole thing yourself. I'll give it in the comments, all the links. Now Prigozhin will tell about situation on the front. He described as total chaos and about deaths of Russian soldiers and how many died. It's enormous. Prigozhin is a liar. He is a king of propaganda. He is created trolls factories in St. Petersburg and so on. The factories who interfere with elections in some countries, in the United States, for example. And he admitted it. He said, yes, we did interfere. We will interfere, and we are interfering. What are you going to do about it? So I don't have a reason to trust Prigozhin in any way. If I say he told the truth, like right now he did tell the truth about the Russian soldiers dying, and even called Bakhmut in Ukrainian way, not Artyomovsk like he was trying to say in the beginning. The point is, I confirm that information from other sources, from Ukrainian side and from other sources. So he did tell the truth about Russian soldiers.
Когда мы пришли сюда, то мы еще раз подтвердили много новое. Огромное количество территорий потеряно.
This is from his speech in Rostov. After they took Rostov, the city with over 1 million people living in it, he's saying that, trying to say that we're not interfering with the war in Ukraine or special operation, as he called it. So despite that, what he just said, that it was useless war, he's still thinking it should be continued. And he's saying if something wrong on the front, it's not because of us. And he's saying that we lost huge territories and lost soldiers. He's saying that about 3 to 4 times more soldiers killed than it is reported in the documents which they sending into Moscow. And it's 10 times less than Russia actually saying on TV to the people in Russia. This is about losses of Russia, losses of soldiers. Prigozhin is saying, I want to draw your attention to the fact that our March of Justice, as he called it, revealed a lot of the things we've been saying. The most serious security problems throughout the country. No, really. Basically, anybody can walk in and go right up to Moscow. In 24 hours, we covered a distance that corresponds to the distance from the starting point to the Russian troops on February 24th, 2022 to Kiev, and from the same point to Uzhgorod. So basically he's saying he performing better than Russian army, that's what he's trying to say. But look at those graves behind him. All these people died because of Putin started the war in Ukraine in 2014, and he started full-scale invasion in 2022. And because of personal fault of Prigozhin, who throw them like a meat into meat grinder, and the fault of Putin, who basically created Prigozhin and supported him, and still supports him. This is the important thing Putin said.
Только с мая 22 года по май 23
From May 2022 to May 2023.
На денежное содержание и стимулирующие выплаты государство заплатило компании Wagner.
For the support, financial support of PMC Wagner, Russian state paid
86 миллиардов
86 billion
262
262 million rubles. Putin admitted it's not private company, it's a part of Russian government. It's a Russian state, paid by Russian state. So what does it mean? Basically, all the assets of Wagner PMC in other countries could be arrested and seized, as well as Russian state assets. Good one, Putin. You just said very important thing, and we will remember that. So it's whatever is belong to Wagner is belong to Russian state, and it can be under sanctions. Sanctions could be imposed on it, and so on. So this video I made as a proof, and Prigozhin personally admitted that the war was for nothing, that there was no aggression from Ukrainian side, nothing NATO did, or Nazis, or any of these pretended things what Russia pretends was the reasons for the war. They doesn't make sense, period. And Putin admitted that Wagner isn't a private company, it's a Russian government company. This is the video with proofs. I just show you the proofs of what I said in my previous video, and I will say in my future videos. This is my video about Prigozhin coup failed, explanation and aftermath. Putin's Russia is a failed state. These are the proofs. Thank you for your attention, and have a great day or evening. These are playlists which you would like to check it out. Briefly about Ukraine, where you can find out why the war in Ukraine even started. The war in Ukraine 2014, which you can go and learn very detailed why and how it all started. The separate playlist about Girkin Strelkov, and so on. You're welcome to educate yourself.